Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through dense material, find the core insights, and give you that shortcut to getting informed. Today we're tackling a word, humility, but we're aiming way beyond just being shy or modest. We're diving into what the author Tony Zampella calls a kind of quiet strength, really, a foundation for wisdom.
Right. And Tony Zampella, he's the founder of Havana Learning Group. They focus on contemplative learning, cultivating inner wisdom. He works as a wisdom coach, a guide, a consultant. And his approach, it's interesting, it blends ontological inquiry, that's the study of being with integral meta theory and Buddhist psychology, all geared towards sustaining contemplative practice.
Okay, that sounds quite deep. So for you listening, what does that mix actually mean in practice when he talks about humility from that perspective?
It means he's looking past just, how we act. He's using philosophy, psychology, spiritual practice, all to examine how we perceive reality itself. So humility isn't just a trait, it's more like a fundamental way of seeing our existence.
And Zampella starts with this essential paradox, right? That we see humility as meekness, maybe weakness even. But his whole exploration kicks off with this really personal moment he calls the unfinished world.
Exactly, that's the launching point. He had this realization that many big systemic issues he deeply cared about, well, they weren't going to be fixed in his lifetime. Some were even getting worse. It was a quiet, unsettling understanding of his own limits.
Wow, yeah. A big moment of just acceptance, realizing that the world's problems weren't just waiting for him to come along and solve them.
He had to loosen his grip, let go of that sense of needing to control or fix everything. And that shift, it turned humility from feeling like defeat into a kind of active participation. He found he didn't need certainty about the outcomes anymore.
So that not knowing actually became a source of strength in a way.
Yes, it let him ground his confidence differently, not in guaranteed results, but just in the commitment to act with care, even when the outcome was totally out of his hands.
Okay, let's dig into how he got there, because there was a specific trigger, wasn't there? Something that really prompted this whole inquiry.
There was. He took one of those character strength surveys, you know the type.
Yeah.
Comprehensive. And he scored pretty well on 23 out of 24 traits. High scores.
Okay.
But humility, it came back noticeably lower, and that gap, that specific difference, became what he called the stone in his shoe, something he couldn't ignore.
Yeah, that kind of inconsistency would gnaw at you. You seem competent everywhere else, but this core thing, it's lagging. And this led him to look closer at confidence versus arrogance.
Right. He started seeing arrogance less as strength and more as a kind of shield, a defense mechanism, really, covering up a deeper tremor of uncertainty underneath. And distinguishing that was crucial. It helped him see why the standard narrow view of humility just wasn't enough.
And that narrow view is basically the dictionary one, having a modest view of one's own value or importance. Simple enough.
Too simple, Zampella argues. Because that definition treats humility like just another social skill or a way to moderate behavior, like prudence or forgiveness. But he felt that misses the point entirely.
How so? What's the problem with just seeing it as modesty?
Well, when you frame it only as modesty, it gets moralized. It becomes something you perform, which leads straight to what he calls false modesty.
Like putting on a show, being humble. He brings in the sociologist Irving Goffman here, right?
Yeah.
Impression management.
Exactly. It's just another defense, making gestures that look humble, but it's still about managing how others see you. Still about the self, ultimately.
Okay, so that's why he needed something deeper. Which brings us to this core idea he lands on, ontological humility.
Yes. And this is key. It's not a character trait to cultivate, like, patience. He describes it as a condition of consciousness.
A condition of consciousness. So if it's not about being modest or meek, what is ontological humility? What's the definition we should be working with?
He describes it as a deep bow to the mystery of being. It's this fundamental acknowledgement that everything we think we know, everything we think we control, even our own sense of virtue, it's all provisional.
Provisional meaning?
Yeah.
Temporary, contextual?
Both. It means it's limited, it's partial, it depends on the situation. It's not the absolute truth.
So you're not putting yourself down, you're just recognizing how huge and complex reality actually is compared to your little slice of it.
Precisely. The shift happens when the self kind of lets go of its claim on certainty. You realize, as Zampella puts it, our existence is participatory, not possessive. We are in life, not in charge of it. That's the core shift.
And that connects back to his earlier point. In that state of not knowing, he found a quieter confidence. based on acting with care, not on needing to control the results.
Right. It creates space for real insight because you stop trying to force things and start trying to understand what's actually unfolding.
But staying in that open space,
Yeah.
that's hard. Zampella points out a really common obstacle, something we run into all the time, the deep need to be right.
Oh, yeah. That feeling of validation when your view is confirmed, it's powerful, addictive even, especially professionally. Zampella references psychologist Carol Dweck's work here.
The fixed versus growth mindset.
Exactly. He notes how many people, especially high achievers, build their identity around being correct. They start mistaking correctness for competence.
Which locks you into that fixed mindset. If being right is the goal, you stop being curious. You avoid anything that might challenge your current understanding because, well, that feels like failing.
And that certainty comes at a high cost. Always needing to be right usually means making others wrong, right? It damages relationships, shuts down discovery. Your perception narrows. It becomes about self-protection, not openness. You actually stop learning.
So letting go of that need to be right? That sounds like a form of surrender, which fits with the symbolism Zampella explores.
It does. He looks at Eastern traditions, Buddhism, for instance, where bowing is so central. It's a gesture of respect, yes, but crucially, it's not about being subservient. It's seen as a physical act of awakening.
Oh, see.
Wisdom, in that view, doesn't come from dominating or being right. It arises from surrender, voluntarily letting go of the ego's rigid position.
That definitely shifts the focus. It's internal, not about how you look to others. But okay, let me push back a bit here. In today's world, especially professionally, isn't talking about surrender and letting go of ego just asking to be seen as weak. How does Zampella address that?
That's a really important tension. And Zampella argues that our current environment, obsessed with certainty and mastery, is precisely why this kind of humility is so vital, actually. He points out that admitting, I don't know, in a culture that prizes expertise feels almost subversive. It risks you being seen as uninformed or incompetent.
Yeah, we definitely confuse having lots of information with actual understanding or technical skill with real wisdom.
We do. So the power of ontological humility, as he frames it, is that it's an active choice, a conscious stance to remain open despite the pressure for certainty. It's a quiet strength, not weakness. The surrender is to reality, to the mystery, not to fear or someone else's control. It's almost a sanity practice in an information-overloaded world.
That idea of groundedness is crucial. And I really like how Zampella connects this big philosophical idea back to the very roots of our language.
It's quite beautiful, isn't it? He points out the root of humility is humus, Latin for earth or soil, that rich, dark, fertile ground.
And from that single root, humus, we get this amazing trio of words that are deeply connected.
Humility itself, from humilitas, meaning lowness, groundedness. Then human, from humanus, meaning of the earth, earthly. We are earthbound creatures.
And the third one is maybe surprising. Humor, from more, meaning moisture or fluid, which connects to ideas of flow, flexibility, softening.
Right. And if you put those three together, humility, human, humor, you get a kind of philosophy for living. To be humble is to be grounded, like fertile soil, ready for growth. To be human is to accept being of the earth finite. And to be humorous is to stay fluid, light, adaptable.
It balances the groundedness with a necessary lightness, preventing it from becoming too heavy or self-important. Zampella shares an anecdote about the Dalai Lama that illustrates this perfectly.
Yeah, he recalls attending teachings by the Dalai Lama and just being struck by the effortless humor, the lightness. It didn't take away from the depth of the teaching. It was part of it. It showed a humility that wasn't solemn or heavy, but somehow luminous, radiant even, grounded and light simultaneously.
That feels like the ideal, doesn't it? Deep wisdom worn lightly. Okay, so to help you, the listener, make this more concrete, Zampella breaks humility down into 3 practical expressions, integrated but distinct.
Yes, 3 ways we can actually practice living in this unfinished world. First is the foundation, ontological humility. He calls this the ground. It's that basic recognition that reality is way bigger than our ability to grasp it. All viewpoints, including our own, are partial. They're contextual. It invites us to just be okay with the limits of what we can know.
And the prompts he suggests for reflection are things like, what beliefs do you hold as absolutely unquestionable? Or, when have you realized your understanding was incomplete?
Exactly. Then, building on that ground, comes the second expression, intellectual humility. This is the mind's flexibility.
Applying that same principle to our knowledge and ideas.
Right. Acknowledging that what we know is always provisional, always evolving. This is what turns defensiveness that need to be right into genuine inquiry. Curiosity takes over.
And the questions here are like, when did you last truly change your mind about something important?
Mm.
Or how do you react when someone contradicts your assumptions? Do you shut down or open up?
Mm-hmm. And the third expression applies this outward to our relationships and the world. Cultural humility. This is the practice of relating.
Recognizing our own cultural lens.
Yes. Understanding that every worldview, every set of norms is culturally situated. Including our own, it pushes us to engage with difference, not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity. To resist that default ethnocentrism.
So the prompts are about exploring that. What parts of your own background shape what you consider normal? And what could you potentially learn from traditions or perspectives that feel unfamiliar or even strange to you?
And Zampella stresses the order here. Ontological humility is the base. Without that deep grounding in the mystery, the other two, intellectual and cultural, can just become techniques,
Yeah.
Social strategies rather than a real shift in being.
Right, they need that foundation. But together they form a whole way of being, rooted in mystery, keeping the mind flexible, keeping the heart open to others. It's active participation.
It really reframes humility. It's not some passive trait you measure on a survey. It's more like a rhythm you live by, that quiet strength Zampella talks about, the one that lets us face all the uncertainty without just, collapsing into fear or pretending we have all the answers or giving up completely. It actually restores our capacity for wonder.
So for you listening, maybe the biggest takeaway from Zampella is this. Living in an unfinished world means accepting mystery over mastery. We don't actually need all the answers. What we need is to stay available for life's unfolding.
Beautifully put. Available, not in control.
And as a final thought, building on that idea of embracing limits and shifting views, Zampella himself points to Joni Mitchell's song, Both Sides Now. It's such a perfect, poignant reminder, isn't it, of how our perspectives change, how little we truly know for certain, and maybe the profound wisdom hidden in accepting the not yet known.